Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 37 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, where we'll be finishing off our terrain collection for the current game board. Hello, I'm Mike, and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing issue 37 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine today. And this issue we got a set of 4 Thermic Plasma Conduits. And this actually finishes off all of the terrain on the Tsiphos board. So as always, if you'd like to see the completed terrain set, you can see it in the battle report, which you can find using the time code in the description or the chapter bars. Otherwise, we'll have a quick look through the issue contents. First up, we have the battle record for our plasma conduits. So as you might expect, these are effectively sort of power lines, which are used to funnel plasma to power the vast Imperial manufactories and gun batteries and so forth. And again, you can give them a name, where the power's going and that sort of thing. And then another one of these in-universe reports on Xenos races, this time the Tau Empire. So the Tau are a relatively young but technologically advanced race that adhere to a philosophy called the greater good, where everyone forms a part of a greater whole. They're led by a group called the Ethereals. They have advanced, powerful weapons, and they also make use of a number of alien auxiliaries, such as the Kroot, which you can see one pictured there. Then background on more Forge Worlds. So first up is Metallica, a very important Forge World that's near the Great Rift and likes to maintain its independence from Mars, such as by wearing predominantly white rather than red. And we have Ryza, another important Forge World, which is currently being attacked by billions of orcs. But the tech priests here have a sort of very gleeful approach to battle, where they see each battle as a new testing ground for their weapons. They harvest lots of data that way. Next up is the build guide for the plasma conduits, and it's fairly easy to put together. You can build these in multiple ways, but the build guide shows you how to build them in the way that covers the battle mat. And it does also suggest not using glue for the 2 little cylinders that go in the little command console thing, just in case you wanted to keep them out. They also makes them much easier to paint. The only other things to note are things like lining up the curved pipes, otherwise they might bend weirdly. And then the painting guide, again, fairly simple. They're predominantly silver, blue details for the plasmic bits, and then you can go over pipes and cables and things with gold and red and with brass. And there's a few little skulls as well to pick out with Rakhov flesh. And then you can see the finished pipes there. And there's a little tip about when you're washing over them with the shades, keep an eye on them as they dry so that the shade doesn't pool. Obviously it naturally drips down towards the bottom of the model and can clog up details if it pools too much. Just use your brush to soak up any excess. We also have a fold out for this issue, going over Tsiphos, so more of the war for the Ramesses system. It mentions how, before the Necrons invaded, the Astra Militarum defenders and civilians succumbed to some sort of malaise that made them all very lethargic. And luckily for the Imperium, the forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus were able to arrive in time and put up a stiff resistance, and they make up the bulk of the defenders on Tsiphos. However, the invasion is actually just a delaying tactic, and that the Necrons have some sort of a nefarious plan and are building some strange noctilith pylon on the death rod of Kjalmar's skull in the outskirts of the system. And you can see the models of some of the forces that we've had. So we've got the Tomb Blades, the Econoptic Spider, and then the Mechanicus forces. And on the other side, we have a map of Tsiphos showing some of the key locations we've been fighting over. Bastion Primaris has been mentioned. There was the gun battery and Sector Epta, where all the manufactorums are. And you can see some of the distribution of Imperial and Necron forces as well. And with that over, I'll hand you over to Will, who can introduce our mission for this issue.
So before we get into our game, we've got just some more coverage of the core rules that we've been going through so far. This page here is continuation of the attacking sequence, which talks about invulnerable saves. There's nothing new here, it's just a special kind of save that can't be modified that you can take instead of its normal save characteristic. Mortal wounds, we know what they are, but this just clarifies the procedure for when weapons do mortal wounds, either instead of or in addition to normal damage. The key point is that mortal wounds are always applied after all normal damage has been resolved. And finally, ignoring wounds, which I don't think is a rule that any of our models have as yet, but basically sometimes units will have rules that let them ignore wounds on a certain dice roll. This just says that if you have multiple such rules, you can only use one of them to try and ignore a wound. The following page actually just has some artwork, and then we have the details for the charge phase. There's nothing new in this whole section, so we'll just skim over it, but yeah, it's just the procedure for doing the charge phase and how to make a charge with a unit. and then heroic interventions and how all of that works. It's all things we have covered and you will have seen already in our games being done. And then we have the background for our game. There is a large shield that protects the capital city of the Fortress Moon of Tsiphos, Tsiphos-Prime, which the Necrons are trying to bring down so that they can bring their heavier weapons to bear on the city, whereas the Adeptus Mechanicus obviously are desperately trying to defend this, and the power relays and plasma conduits that keep it operational. So the Necrons will be led by a Raw Warden. They're trying to destroy the network of plasma conduits powering it, whereas the Adeptus Mechanicus forces led by Tech Priest Dominus are trying to defend them. So we have the next mission in our Scout Mission Pack, Power Struggle. So here's the battlefield overview. We've got the Dark Ruin City side. Now with the plasma conduits, they've got with the issue in their places where they are indicated. We've got the 2 ruined buildings and the Hematrit reactor, and then objectives in between the sets of plasma conduits and the Hematrit reactor, as you can see there, to represent the fact that we're trying to control the plasma conduits. The deployment zones are a quarter of the way along the long edges, from the top left and bottom right corners respectively, and then 6 inches onto the board, which is easier to see on the map than it is to describe, with the Adeptus Mechanicus in the top left and the Necrons in the bottom right. The forces for the Necrons are the Raw Warden, the Tomb Blade that we got with the previous issue, 3 Cannot Take Scarab Swarms and 5 Immortals, whereas the Adeptus Mechanicus, or the Ultramarines as it still says there, is all the models we have so far, so the Tech Priest Dominus, the Tech Priest Engineer, the Cataphoron Destroyer and 10 Skitari Rangers. The Adeptus Mechanicus player deploys a unit first, and the mission objective, Capture the Conduit, is a progressive objective where each player scores 1 victory point for each objective they control, and it lasts for 5 battle rounds. Although it does say here specifically that if a player has no models remaining before the end of the 5th battle round, their opponent is victorious. So even if you've got a lead in victory points, you can still lose if you lose all your models. I don't think it's said that for every game we've had so far, so that might be relevant here. So that's it for our mission details. We'll set up the board now and deploy and then get into the game. So we've set up the board and deployed our armies. You can see the Thermic Plasma Conduits in their places over where the printed terrain was. We finally got all the printed terrain for this board. And we've also scattered just a few crates and barrels around just to make it look a bit more interesting. And there's the 2 objectives either side of the central conduits. And here's our deployment. We'll look at the Adeptus Mechanicus first.
Yeah, so I've got these Skitari Rangers out the front, ready to move into the building, 2 Tech Priests behind, and then the Cataphoron just on the flank there.
And the Necron forces, we've got the Scarabs up against the edge of the deployment zone, the Immortals ready to move into my building, with the Raw Warden in the middle, and then the Tomb Blade at the back. And the mission doesn't specify who goes first, so we're rolling off. I rolled a 2.
I got a 6. I think I'll choose to go first.
So we'll be on to Adeptus Mechanicus turn 1.
So I won't use the 3-inch Ranger move since I'm going first. I'm not going to pick a Doctrine or Imperative. I don't think I need to use one yet. I will use the Shroud's Arm Canticle though, to give the Cataphoron some cover. Then in my moon phase, the Rangers have all piled into the building. The 2 Tech Priests following behind. And then the Cataphoron has moved out around the building so you can see and start taking some shots at those Scarabs. And then in the shooting phase, the Cataphoron is the only one who can see anything, so he'll fire his Plasma Culverin at the Scarab Swarm. So I think I actually am going to supercharge because the 2 damage will be useful. There is a chance he'll take mortal wounds. So it just has D6 shots, no minimum here because there's only 3 models in the unit. So that's 5 shots. These hit on 4s, rerolling 1s, which is good because if you're rolling 1s he'll take a mortal wound. 2 1s that need to be re-rolled into 2 hits, so no mortal wounds there. 3 hits, no damage to himself. And these run on 2s because it's strength 8 against toughness 3. Oh, there's a 1, so 4 damage, but that's enough to kill a base.
And we'll see if it reanimates immediately, needing 4 5 pluses now. So that is enough to destroy a Scarab base. We'll take a look at that one. But that's it for the turn. There's no morale test necessary with the Scarabs, nobody holds on the objectives, so we're straight on to Necrons turn 1. So there wasn't anything to do in my command phase. In the movement phase, the Scarabs have zoomed out to the middle of the board. They do get within 3 inches of objective 2 there, although I might want them to charge into the Skitari who are behind that wall, just to tie them up. The Raw Warden is standing on the edge of the building there. He can see the Cataphoron from that position, but he's also within 3 inches of the Immortals. You can just see are in the building there. They can't see anything this turn, but they don't have enough movement to be able to do that really anyway. And the Tomb Blade has zoomed over to by the Hematrit reactor where it is holding objective 1, and it can also see some Skitari to shoot at. So in the shooting phase it will do just that. It will fire both its guns at the Skitari Rangers. That's technically 1 gun I suppose, and it is within rapid fire range. So it has 4 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits, wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds with an AP -2, but they do get light cover.
So 5 plus. Oh, made 1, so that's 1 dead Ranger. So I'll take away this chap here.
And then the Royal Warden is going to shoot at the Cataphron Destroyer, who is not within 15 inches from here. So it's 2 shots hitting on 3s. We've got 2 hits. Wounding on 4s. Suffers 4. No, nothing. And then in the charge phase, the Scarabs will declare a charge against the Skitarii Rangers, who are just behind that wall, so they will be able to fight them through it. It will probably take them away from the objective, but that might be worth it just to tie up the Rangers. Although it is important to note that they are going to be charging over the Thermic Plasma Conduits, which are at least an inch or more high, and when making a charge move, even though they have the fly rule, they do have to take into account the vertical distance moved up and over for doing so. The pipes also have the difficult ground rule, which normally would reduce the distance they can move by 2 inches, but because they have the fly rule, they do ignore that part of it. So, in other words, they're going to be charging an extra 2 inches. If they didn't have fly, they'd be effectively a 4-inch extra move because of difficult ground. So the extra 2 inches means that they need probably about a 9. Well, they rolled a 9, so we're going to have to measure it. Actually, no, it would have been a 10-inch charge, so that is not a successful charge. And, well, there's no other charges to be made, so at the end of my turn I do hold both objectives, so I score 2 victory points. As we head into Adeptus Mechanicus, turn 2.
Right, so you've seen the results of my movement, but beforehand I picked the Benediction of the Omnissiah Canticle, so that's one we can re-roll things. And then for my imperative, I'm taking the Protector Doctrine, which is the +1 ballistic skill, -1 weapon skill, to counteract the -1 ballistic skill the Skitarii get for moving up onto the upper floor. And then, yeah, these Skitarii Rangers all moved up to the upper floor, and they can all fit now that one of them's dead. 2 Tech Priests are hiding out underneath them in the building. The Dominus can just about see the Tomb Blade. And the Cataphron has moved, so you can see the Scarabs, either over or under the pipes, and you can see the Immortals through the window. So I think I'll start the shooting phase with the Tech Priest Dominus, who's going to shoot at the Tomb Blade because it's the only target. Okay. So I'll do the Volkite Blaster first. It says 3 shots, hitting on 3s because he moved, and I can re-roll one of these if I miss. So I'll re-roll that one, into a hit. Wound on 3s, 6s do 2 mortal wounds. Oh, there's a 6.
So it takes 2 mortal wounds and dies. And it has 2 wounds, so just like the last game, it is destroyed by the Volkite Blaster.
I'll do the Cataphron. It's going to fire the Flamer at the Scarabs and the Plasma Culverin at the Immortals. Not supercharging the Plasma Culverin this time because there's no benefit at all basically. I'll do the Flamer first. D6 plus 2 automatic hits for 7. Wounding on 3s because it's strength 4. And I can re-roll one of these because of the Canticle. That's 5 wounds.
It has no AP, and they do actually get cover because they are a swarm, and so they do get the benefit of cover from the obstacle, and which provides light cover. So 5 plus saves. Made 2, so 3 wounds to a base. So that one at the back will take 3 wounds.
And then we have D6 shots with the Plasma Culverin at the Immortals. Only 1. Hits on a 4. It hits. Wounds on a 3. Re-rolling because of the Canticle. So actually, no, there's no reroll because I used the reroll on the Scarabs.
So no wound.
All the Skitarii can see the Scarabs, so apart from the 2 guys at the back, so they'll all shoot at the Scarabs, except for the Sniper who will shoot at the Royal Warden because he ignores Lookout Sir. Not going to supercharge the Plasma, I don't think I'm going to need the 2 damage. I'll start with the Alpha's Blast Pistol, which has 1 shot. Hits on a 2, because he's got +1 ballistic skill.
And it's a pistol.
Yeah, rerolling 1s. He hits. Wounds on a 3. Yeah, it does.
It has AP -1,
yeah,
but I do get cover, so a 6. Nope. So that destroys the wounded base.
3 rifles, hitting on 3s, -1 because they moved, but +1 ballistic skill from the Doctrine. Rerolling 1s because of the Tech Priests. Oh, they will hit. Wounding on 3s. And that's 3 wounds at AP -1.
So 6 is the save. Made 1 save, so 2 damage so far on the base. It was actually 4 wounds, it said 3 wounds, so another save. Oh, I made it, so yeah, still only 2 damage to that base.
Then I'll do the Plasma. 2 shots on 2s, rerolling 1s. They both hit. 2s, strength 7. 1 wound.
So no save against that, so it's down to 1 wound.
Arc Rifle on 2s, rerolling 1s. Yep, good job, you got +1 to hit. It's 2s again. AP -2.
There we go.
It's dead this time.
Yeah, so that is enough to take out the Scarabs entirely, so they don't get reanimated.
I've got the Sniper on the Royal Warden. He has 1 shot, hitting on a 3. He hits. He wounds on a 3, yep, strength 7 versus toughness 5. He does not wound.
And that'll be all the shooting. The Necrons have lost 2 units entirely, so no morale tests. And the Adeptus Mechanicus aren't scoring any victory points, so we'll be on to Necrons turn 2. Well, there's not much to do in my turn besides move the Immortals out, and then the Immortals in the shooting phase will start off by shooting at all of the Skitarii Rangers. 10 shots, hitting on 3s. 6 hits. Wounding on 3s. 4 wounds with AP -2.
So 4 5+ saves because we've got cover. I failed them all. It's 4 dead Skitarii. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All riflemen basically.
And the Raw Warden shoot at them as well, because the more of them I can kill, the more likely they are to run away in the morale phase. So he has 4 shots hitting on 3s, and then you got 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. Well, just the 1.
5+ save again. Made it this time.
And I'm not going to declare a charge with the Immortals. It would be a 9-inch charge because of the penalties for going over the terrain, and I don't really want to bring in the Tech Priests with heroic interventions, so we'll just have to endure some more shooting. But in the morale phase, the Skitarii did lose 4, so they will have to make a morale test.
So their leadership 8's on a 1 to a 4, they're fine. They are fine.
So that will be the end of Necrons turn 2. On to Adeptus Mechanicus turn 3.
So, to start the battle round, I'm going to pick the Bulwark Imperative for the Skitarii, so they get +1 save, -3 movement, but they don't need to move anywhere. While for my Canticore, I'm going to pick Invocation of Machine Vengeance, which is roll an extra dice when advancing or charging, and discard the lowest. And then the 2 Tech Priests just moved out of the ruins normally, and the Cataphrone has moved up to take objective number 2, and he's still within 6 inches of the Tech Priest's Dominus for those tasty rerolls. Then in the shooting phase, I'll start with the Rangers. The Sniper's going to put his shot into the Raw Warden, and then the others have to shoot at the Immortals.
And because the pipes are an obstacle, the technical way that cover works is that you get benefits of cover from it unless you can draw lines to every part of the target model's base from a single point on the attacking model's base. Basically that means that the 2 Immortals at the back don't get cover from the front rank of Skitarii Rangers because their bases are close enough to the edge of the building they can see over the pipe, effectively.
I'll start with the Plasma. 2 shots hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. Not supercharging. So that's 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. He does not. The Arc Rifle. Same again. Missed. A Galvanic Rifle. 2 shots on 3s. They both hit. Wounded on 5s. Got a wound. It's AP -1.
I'll put it on someone at the front who has got cover from this, so this is a 3+. Which I failed, so actually a Immortal goes down.
And then the Blast Pistol from the Prime. D3 shots for 3. Hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. They all hit. Wounding on 4s. 2 wounds.
Take these on people in cover as well. There are 2 left at the front. Oh, they both failed. That's the 3 front Immortals dead. Yeah, so I put it on these guys because they had cover, but they all died, which is unfortunate. But they do get to try and reanimate since that's all the shooting that was directed at them. So they come back on 5s. Oh, 2-2. And they'll come back behind where they were before to try and stay away from the Tech Priests. Also because the pipes have the defence line rule, which means that you can fight in melee if you're 2 inches across the pipe, essentially. So where they were in the front rank, they were actually in range to be charged by the Tech Priests. So now they're not anymore.
And finally we've got the Sniper shooting at the Raw Warden, hitting on a 3. Rerolling 1s, he hits. He wounds on a 3. Oh, he does, and he does a mortal wound, but does he save?
It's a -2 AP, so a 5+ save. Oh, he does save. Phew.
But he does take a mortal wound.
So the Raw Warden's down to 3.
Now I'm going to do the Tech Priest Dominus next. He's going to shoot at the Immortals. So I got 3 shots with the Volkite Blaster. Hitting on 3s because he moved. Only 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. 6s do 2 mortal wounds in addition. Nope. And then a single shot from the Phosphor Serpenter, which hits. And then wounds on a 4. It does.
One of the people in the front rank are within 3 inches of the pipe, so they do get cover from this, which are 6 of save anyway.
The Cataphron's going to shoot both of his weapons at the Raw Warden because he's the closest target. So I'll do the Plasma first. I will supercharge it because I think the 2 damage is going to be useful. So D6 shots. 1. Hitting on a 4, you're rolling 1s. He hit. Wounds on a 3. It does not. Then D6 plus 2 shots for the Flamer for 7. Wounding on 5s. 4 wounds.
He's not within range of the cover, but AP 0, so 3+ saves. Oh, failed 1, he's down to 2.
And finally we got the Tech Priest entrance here who's going to fire his Mechanicus pistol at the Immortals. He has 2 shots hitting on 3s. 1 hit. Wounds on a 5 because only shown 4. Oh, it does. Saving -2.
Somebody in cover will get a 4+ save. Oh, failed. Oh, reanimation. No, he's dead. So we'll take out this one.
In the charge phase, the Tech Priest entrance here is going to charge first. He's going to charge just the Immortals. So I roll 3 dice and discard the lowest. Still need a decent roll. Oh, a 10 is enough. So he's going to go in like that. And then the Dominus will charge as well. And he's going to charge both the Immortals and the Raw Warden because he'll basically have to go across the pipe and it's the same distance, basically. Again, going to need a decent roll because of the difficult terrain of the pipes. A 9, I think, is enough. That is enough to get him in range just of both the Immortals and the Raw Warden.
That's the end of the charge phase, and I can't directly intervene with the Royal Warden because he's already within engagement range of the Tech Priest Dominus.
We'll pick the engines here. We're just going like that. So I use a red dice for the servo arm. These attacks both hit on 4s. They both miss. And then the Tech Priest Dominus is going to pile in as well. Get both units into base contact, and he's going to put his attacks on the Royal Warden. And he has 3 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 2. Wounding on 3s because he's strength 7, I believe. 2 wounds, saved him -2 for the axe.
Need to make both 5+s to live. Oh, made neither. The Royal Warden dies. Yeah, he's only got 2 wounds left, so that's enough to kill him. Well, then the Immortals will go, and by piling in round the Tech Priest Engine Seer, getting closer to him, they can bring both of themselves in range of Objective 1, which means the Adeptus Mechanicus will not hold it, and therefore will not get a victory point. But then they put all their attacks on the Tech Priest Engine Seer because he's easier to injure. Well, 6 attacks hitting on 3s. Got 5 hits. Wounding on 4s because he's only toughness 4. Oh, 4 wounds. Oof. No AP.
4 3+ saves for the Tech Priest. Failed 1.
So he's down to 3.
There's no morale test to be made, but I gain a victory point for holding objective number 2.
Yep, as we head into Necrons turn 3. And I think we will call the game there because regardless of what I do, I don't think I can win. I do have a lead of 1 victory point at the moment, but if I fall back from combat, the Adeptus Mechanicus can just gain more victory points and I won't be able to do anything about it. Or if I stay in combat, they can fall back the Tech Priests and then shoot with all those guns. Or if I stay in melee, then the Tech Priests will probably kill them in melee eventually. And because the Adeptus Mechanicus basically have a hold on objective 2, they're going to get at least 1 victory point per turn if the Cataphrone stays there. So I'm never going to win either on victory points or on staying alive, I don't think. So whatever happens, carrying on will just prolong the inevitable, so we'll call that an Adeptus Mechanicus victory, and we'll recap the game for you now. Well, that was the game for issue 37 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How did you think that went?
Oh yeah, pretty well, to be honest. I'm not sure what I'd do differently. Maybe would have moved up the Tech Priest to hug the wall so that there was no possibility of charging the Skitarii in the first turn. But other than that, it went pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose if you hadn't put the Skitarii up against the inside of the wall, I wouldn't have been able to charge them with the Scarabs, but I failed anyway, so...
Yeah, defence line came in handy.
I think by going first, you also gave yourself the initiative, because you killed a Scarab base in the very first turn, and then in my first turn, I probably made a mistake by sending the Scarabs and the Tomb Blade out by themselves, because you couldn't see the Immortals very much, so you didn't shoot at them, which meant all your shooting went at the other things instead.
Yeah, to be honest, I was most scared of the Scarabs, because they would have tied up the Skitarii forever.
I think what I should have actually done is put the Scarabs on the upper floor of the ruin, because you can't actually see them up there, because they're too small, and then use them to charge in the second turn, and also keeping everything basically hidden, and then move everybody out in the second turn and have a coordinated assault. As it was, you just got to pick my force apart piecemeal. And although I did score some early victory points, without continuing to rack them up, there's not much point hiding or running away. I needed more models to be left towards the end of the game to have a chance of holding on to the lead.
Yeah, and I think most of the time as well I was able to wipe out. Well, the Tomb Blade is only one thing, so it will never get to reanimate.
Yeah, and the Scarabs likewise are not likely to reanimate without the Canoptic Spider to bring them back.
Yeah, I mean, sort of ironically, your force is pretty much worse than it was in the previous issues because you don't have the Technomancer or the Overlord to bring stuff back, which is sort of the main gimmick of the Necrons.
Yeah, the Royal Warden only has one effect. He's not really that good at an army commander.
Well, it is nice to have the fully completed terrain, so you don't have to cover up the pipes with crates and pretend it doesn't exist. And it does actually change, whereas before the middle was essentially all open to movement, now that's actually quite a significant obstacle.
Yeah, I mean, the cover is handy if you want to be in the middle of the board, but that barrier to being charged is actually really quite significant.
The difficult terrain is, yeah. It says 4 inches to move over it.
Yeah, because it is more than an inch tall. It saved you from the problem that the Adeptus Mechanicus have had up to this point, which is being charged early on and tied up. I don't think we actually ever formally went through them. It does have an awful lot of the special terrain traits. It also has heavy cover, which gives you +1 to your save fighting across the barricade, as long as you didn't make a charge move that turn. It's also defensible, so you can set to defend as well. So a unit up behind that that's decent in melee can be quite hard to shift. And I mean, the pieces themselves, they look good, I suppose. They fit the theme of the battlefield.
Although it probably is worth pointing out that this is actually an older set. The ruins are from the starter set, but these pipes are actually an older set. The pipes sent from the Captain Edition are slightly different.
That's true. These are the old Thermic Plasma Conduits set, which I don't think are available anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so, yeah. And probably fairly good value for money, actually. And it covers quite a decent amount of this board. And there are multiple configurations as well, I think.
Yes, obviously we put it down according to the printed terrain, but you could arrange these in a number of different ways.
And it's really quick to paint as well because it's basically all silver.
But that's it for this video and this game. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you played this game, did you do anything differently? Did you get a different outcome? We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.